Andrea Loves Everybody. I'm your host, Andrea Gazzetta, and with me today we have Brian Simpson.
Yay.
Yay. I like to start this podcast, Brian, by letting everybody know something that I love about them.
Okay.
Brian, first of all, I think you're super, super funny. I remember the first time that I saw you do stand-up was at Bar Lubitsch for the Bad Bad show, and you did the bit about the only way you would ever punch a woman.
Oh, yeah. That's when I first wrote it.
It's one of my favorite bits, and it was so funny. I was in there just dying. I thought it was so great. And I've seen you do stand-up a bunch of times. You never disappointed. I really enjoyed going to San Diego with you, and we spent like 12 hours together.
That was
the
fun.
first time we hung out. So I'm so sorry. So today, I kind of wanted to talk about something that we started talking about when we were on that super long car ride, which is masculinity. And of course, what happened was we sit down in the car, we're talking for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and I was mentioning something about a friend is doing something with masculinity, and you said to me, you just looked at me and you just go, masculinity is a prison. Do you remember saying that? Yeah. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I first heard my friend Justin say that, and it just struck me, just stood with me, because it really is. It's very restrictive.
Yeah, because you were in the military for how long?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, yeah. And did you fight, or were you just like stationed places?
Yeah, I mean, I was in the Marine Corps. I deployed a couple times, but I never killed anyone.
Okay. But the relationship that you kind of had with masculinity and with other men, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there is, I think there's the masculinity just being a man. Because to me, it's like masculinity is a box, and everything outside that box is like masculinity is defined as just with the opposite of femininity, So like, while I think, so men are under this constant pressure to assert that they are not feminine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, whereas femininity is whatever women do.
Yeah, we're sensitive and sweet, right, and whatever.
And you can wear what you want, and you can be what you want, and you can walk how you want, and you can dance how you want. And men have to do the opposite of that in order to remain men. Like, masculinity is something that can be taken. It's like once you're out of the box, you're no longer in the box. So it's one of those. And I don't know if there's a way for it to not be toxic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because by its nature, masculinity, like, you can't be super open about your feelings.
Well, not just that, but it's also like, I feel like it's the most powerful thing that influences men to behave irrationally.
How so? What do you mean? Like the desire to remain masculine?
Right. The desire to defend their masculinity, men will do crazy shit.
Like fight?
Yeah, fight, dangerous dares, eat increasingly spicy food just to try to outman each other. I mean, I've seen people, we did, especially when I was that age. I mean, I did a lot of dumb shit everyone, all of us.
How old were you when you kind of like went into the military, and what caused you to want to do that?
I was 18, and I had just voluntarily removed myself from the foster care program, because in Maryland, the foster care program will basically take care of you until you're 21, as long as you're going to school and, meeting all these certain requirements, But I was just so tired of
someone telling you what to do.
It's not even that, because joining the military is the ultimate.
Also, someone telling you what to do.
Yeah. But the thing is like I was so tired of that system. I was so tired of being a part of that system, because I didn't trust them. I didn't feel like they knew what the fuck they were doing.
How long had you been in that system? Like your whole life?
Yeah, pretty much since I think I first got in there when I was 7 or 6, and when I was 7 or 6, I was in DC foster care, and then I was there for several years, and then they found my dad, and my dad took me out, and then I got into it with it's a long process, but I got into it with my stepmom and ended up moving around with different family members. Ended up back with my dad after he had split up with my stepmom, and it was just me and him. And then when he and I got into some shit one day.
How old were you at that point?
I was 12 or 13.
What?
Yeah, and I remember it was just he'd started because my dad was a very distant person,
Yeah.
And he started locking his door to his bedroom.
Okay.
When he would leave for work. And I was always my dad was like a workaholic. He had 3 jobs. So he would leave for work. He had 3 jobs and like side bitches and, just a whole thing. And so he would leave at like 7 in the morning to go to, he would come home at like 7 in the morning and like leave for work at like 1 or 2 in the afternoon while I was at school. And so I would come home and he wasn't home. So the only time I would see him was like a couple of seconds in the morning,
So you were pretty much always alone anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. And so he would always lock his door when he left. And it bothered me because it was like, why doesn't he trust me to be, I don't know what that was about. So I started breaking into his room.
Just because you could?
I just wanted to see what's in here. What is in here that he don't want me to see? So
what was it? What'd you find?
I found there was nothing. There was nothing at first. When I first started doing it, there was nothing,
Interesting.
And I think he kind of suspected, because he knew I was a clever little fucker, so I think he started suspecting that I was getting in there somehow. So he started putting like a little piece of paper up at the top of the door, and so he could tell by how it fell if I had opened the door already.
Interesting.
But I was onto that shit too,
So you would just put it back?
Yeah, I would just put it back, yeah.
That's funny.
And anyway, but after like going in there for several times, because also the cable was in his room. So so after breaking in there several times, one time I went in there and there was this thing of chocolates. And it was sealed. It was sealed like on the top with that shrink wrap plastic shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured out I could screw off the top and the plastic at the same time and take a few chocolates and screw it back on, and it still looked like it was sealed up. And I started doing that like every day, like going in there, taking one of the chocolates, taking a couple. But I went too far, and he noticed one day that like there was way less chocolate than it was supposed to be, and he confronted me about it. And my attitude was just like, as a kid, I was just like, what the fuck ever? You know what I mean? Like, you don't ever say nothing to me. You don't know shit about me. Why the fuck?
Well, he's not really even your parent. He's not even present in your life.
Exactly. As a
he's
kid,
not cooking you dinner. He's not taking care of you.
Right.
He's just providing for you.
Exactly. And as a kid, it's like, you don't have a concept of that. Like, you don't feel like you owe when you're 13.
Not when your parent's not taking care of you.
Well, yeah. Well, you don't feel, it's not even that. It's just like, because as an adult, I understand more like, taking care of somebody financially is still a burden, and you feel like that motherfucker at least owes you respect.
Yeah.
But to me as a 13-year-old kid, I was just like, you literally haven't said nothing to me in 2 weeks, and now the first thing you want to do is yell at me about some fucking chocolate. Fuck on my face. I said something like that,
Yeah. Because you're 13.
And my dad being my dad, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking though, because I know my dad, like he ain't gonna let that shit slide. You know, like I said that shit dismissively to him while I was eating a TV dinner, like over my shoulder, like fuck out my face, you know. And I knew, I don't know what I was thinking. I should have put my shit down right then and put my guards up, but nah, he grabbed me by my fucking throat, like from behind, and put me right up against the wall. You know, and it was just a thorough, you know, I'm trying to. It was one of the moments where it was like I'm trying not to fucking hurt you. You know what I mean?
Where you mean he was trying not to hurt you?
Right.
Okay.
But it was one of them things where it was like. Whereas, like, he was so much stronger than me that it was no point in me even trying to fight him back, you know?
Yeah.
And then I told him, I was like, well, you got to go to sleep sometime. Right. And that's when he called the cops and all this and that.
Oh, my God.
And I ended up right back in foster care.
So you were with your dad for like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
And then you were in foster care?
Again. Yeah.
What, I mean, it's just so like weird to think about like not having parents.
No, I had parents. I mean,
like did you trust them to be your caretakers though?
No. I mean,
because they're more just like a school principal or something.
What do you mean by that? Yeah, well,
because you would live in their house,
right? But it didn't have anything to do with. I mean, by the time I moved in with them, I was already on that shit. Like fuck authority, fuck adult. They don't know what they're talking about.
Well, I mean, they don't. They're just people too.
Because when I was the first foster home I was in, which is kind of like my grandma, my older brother and I have different dads.
Okay.
And we were originally put in. His grandma was already a foster parent.
Okay.
So we were originally put into her home. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I went from being the youngest, the baby, you know, smothered with love and affection, to just like one of like 10 kids.
Wow.
You know, in this very like authoritarian environment. You know what I mean? She was old school, you know. But I remember them putting me on Ritalin. They tried to put me on Ritalin. And
because you were being a kid,
I don't know. I don't know what they thought. They thought they couldn't figure out if I was smart or if I was crazy, you know. So because they kept trying to put me in talented and gifted classes and back into the regular classes, and then
what would happen when they put you in gifted and talented? That were you just like not achieving like they wanted you to, or
no, because the thing is, I was. My teachers correctly assumed that I was bored because I already understood all the stuff she was teaching. So I was acting out in class.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, he's smarter than this. Let's put him in the gifted joint. But they was trying to use that to make me behave in class. Like, oh, you love doing this? Well, if you want to keep doing it, you got to fucking sit still in class. And I was just like, fuck that. You know, so I would keep.
Because you understood that school is just like a game.
I don't know if I understood it. I don't know if I understood it in a way that I could have put into words back then. But yeah, I knew it like deep down. This is all bullshit. You know? So
you don't really respect authority, no, and then you go into the military.
Well, no. I remember them putting me on Ritalin. Though they prescribed me Ritalin, and I wasn't taking it. I would put it under my tongue and spit it out. Right?
Oh, interesting.
And then like a month afterwards, they had a parent-teacher conference to try to like determine whether it was working. And I sat there and heard my teacher and my grandmother both going, yeah, you know, I've noticed that he's been just so much better lately and you know, all this other shit. And I'm sitting there like, and it was my first time like, oh, all of these motherfuckers are full of shit.
They had the placebo effect. They wanted to believe that was the problem.
Right. Yeah. So then, anyway, I ended up in the military.
So, I mean, I think that's such an interesting choice, though, is like you kind of grow up with no like stable authority figures. Yeah. Like your authority figures are always changing. I'm sure every time you went to a different place, they had different rules and like.
Right.
and then suddenly you go into the military, which is so authoritarian.
Yeah.
Why did like what made you want that choice?
But the military was, well, I didn't really have any other thing. I ain't have shit else going on in my life. I started kind of like selling weed on the side, and I remember getting caught with like weed in my pocket and all this other shit was going on, and it was a petty thing, but the trial date was pending, and I remember my uncle picking me up from somewhere, and he was like, "Man, where do you see yourself in 10 years?"
Yeah.
And no one had ever asked me that question. I don't think up to that point in my life, I don't think I'd ever thought about any time past like this weekend, to think about 5 years from now and 10 years. I've never done that. And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, you ever thought about the military? And I was like, actually, yeah, I have thought about the military. So I called him up. I tried to join the Air Force. But when I told them about the weed charge,
they wouldn't let you?
They were like, oh, fuck no. They were like, you're not Air Force material or whatever. And he hung up on me. And when I called back to curse him out, a Marine answered the phone. Because they were all in the same they're all in the same office.
Yeah.
And a Marine answered the phone, and I was like, yo, put that motherfucker back on the phone. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And he was like, yo, what happened? And I explained to him the situation. He was like, hey, listen, look, I'll come pick you up. We'll have a talk. He came and picked me up, and we talked about it, and I told him about the weed charge, and he was like, yeah, we'll see what we can do and try to get involved. Sometimes they'll look over that shit. You can get a waiver. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know this for sure, but I'm pretty sure he did something because he's not supposed to.
Oh.
But I'm pretty sure he did something because, like, the next week I got a letter saying that the state declined to prosecute.
Oh, wow.
Or whatever. And
I mean, it's a weed charge. It's so dumb anyway.
It was like possession, but it was like I had other shit in my past, like shoplifting and all this stuff. So it was like, anyway, so I joined the Marine Corps. And the difference is that even though the Marine Corps is, even though it is very authoritarian and all of that, it's also a meritocracy. So eventually you have to deal with less and less shit. You earn your way out of the shit.
Did you feel like that was the most structure you'd had in your life? Like it sounds like you didn't have a lot of like structure growing up necessarily with people. Like it was like a false structure. Like people were like giving you rules, but none of it really, you couldn't.
The thing about being a foster child for me was just that they were making decisions on your behalf, and they wouldn't have to be around for the consequences.
Yeah.
So only I had to deal with the consequences, but they got to decide. And that pissed me off to no end.
So when you got into the military, you got to decide, and you got to the reward of positive consequences if it turned out well.
Exactly. Which I mean, that's the idea. It didn't quite work that way in practice, but I mean, the military definitely wasn't for me, but it's something I needed to do. The Marine Corps changed me. It made me stop feeling sorry for myself and made me stop being so angry at the world, like the world owed me something, because the Marine Corps don't give a fuck where you from or what your issue is. They just want you to do your fucking job. No excuses. They don't care if you're sad today, none of that. But that applied to everybody.
But did you feel, so like that though like the Marine Corps and like the military functions on a type of masculinity that is basically like, we're not here to talk about your feelings,
Oh, yeah. Well,
in some ways that it sounds like that helped you, and then in other ways it sounds like it was limiting.
Right. It definitely it helped me in more ways than it harmed me. But the way that it harmed me most significantly was just that, in the way that it harms everyone almost, is that there's a mold. There's a hyper masculine, hyper like bro-y mold that that they stuff you in. It's an identity that you that they stuff you in. And or what a better way to put it is, you'll be more successful the more you match up to this identity, you know, but that's not really you.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where, like, when you get out, now you 23, 24, 25, and you gotta learn yourself all over again. You don't even know who you are. Your formative years, my formative years were all fucked. And then I was 23, and now it's like Arrested Development. You know, it's like in a lot of ways,
you got to figure out how to be a person.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, you're still a teenager.
Yeah,
you know. So that's what it was for me, anyway. I can't speak for everybody.
How old were you when you got out?
I think it was 23. Yeah.
So you're really young still.
Yeah.
Did you like go to school or anything after, or did you how did you build community? Because like the military is like this built-in community. Like everyone's in the military. Like we're all here together. And then once you leave, like how did you have a community still, or like how did you find?
Well, I mean, I still keep in contact with people that I was in with. You know.
Okay.
Even though that's also a weird thing too, because a lot of your friends are. It's like you go from having your whole lives in common to having almost nothing in common, other than that you're a veteran, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so don't get me wrong, like a handful of those people are like really my friends, and the rest of those people, and the rest of them are, it's like family. It's like I fuck with them out of loyalty.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna go like visit the motherfucker, like unless he dies or something, you know? So, but it's like I'm there for them. Like if one of them was to call me and like need something and I had it to give, I would give it. Because we served together, you know, we suffered together. But we don't have anything in common. You know, I'm sure most of them are Trump supporters, and like we just ideologically we just don't.
I mean, like, you don't strike me as the kind of person that would have been like, oh, yeah, he was in the military. You know, like, because you don't have a lot of the people that I meet that are ex-military are very, like, pro-gun, you know, very, like, Republican. And, like, just not a lot of people go left after the military, or, like, not a lot of people that I've met.
Oh, no, I mean, I went left while I was in the military. Actually, that's another misconception is there's a lot of the military that are left.
Interesting.
You're encouraged. The thing is, you're encouraged to go right because theoretically they give you raises. You know, when there's a Republican in office, you get raises.
Oh, interesting.
And that sound good and everything, but then they don't give a fuck about you afterwards. You know, it's like, yeah, the right will take care of you while you in, but when you get out,
they cut your benefits and they do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Because, you know, like shit like the GI Bill that they use to lure you in, and you get out and find out it ain't what you thought it was, you know?
How do you define your masculinity now? Like, and how did that change from being in the military and like?
I don't know. I don't think about it anymore.
You don't worry about it at all?
No, for mostly I don't. I mean, that's not true. Maybe it depends on who I'm around, because it's easy to get, because it's funny to me. It's easy to get into. It's easy to joke around about it, but I don't really care about it. You know, life is so much easier when you don't. You know,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, when it's not always at the forefront of your mind. You know, when it's like, you know, you can't listen to that song because that's gay, and you can't love that movie because, you know, it's not manly, and you can't, like, I love Project Runway.
Yes.
You know, and one of my roommates walked in the other day and was like, what the fuck? I was like, yo, what you mean, what the fuck? You want me to change the channel because you walked in the room, you know? It was like,
it's a good show. It's so cool.
It's like, yo, look at that dress.
It's awesome.
Right. And so it's like, I don't know. But some it still blows my mind. Like some dudes still feel like, you know, after that they would have to go, I don't know, tackle a tackling dummy or something to feel, you know, or beat up a gay person. You know, just to feel back manly again. You know, like they gotta feel this
look, I get to watch Patrick Rowan because I'm so manly. I can do it's fine.
Right. It's weird. It's one. Just the behavior is weird to me. It's like you can't say that a man is good looking, even though you know it. You know, like you see somebody that is, and I'm not talking about like debating on someone's looks, but I'm just talking about like there are people in this world that are like just blessed with that just unapproachable,
they're beautiful,
natural, unapproachable good looks, and we all know who they fucking are.
Yeah.
But even as a man, you can't. You have to just be like, well, yeah, you know, like a man can't say, hey man, you looking good. You know, but hold on, we skipped over a whole part of this. There's also this other sprinkle of masculinity on top of being black, a black man.
Oh,
too.
Yeah.
So like if a black man sees another black man, and like say I see a friend of mine, and they're looking good. They look better than usual.
They've been working out.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
All I can say is, I see you. I see you. I see what you doing. I see you. That's it. I can't be like, yo, where'd you get? Well, I guess I could, but
you totally could.
But you just like the compliments can only go so far. It's not like it is with women. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, women, because like affection is seen so much as like a feminine thing. I can tell my friend, I was like, you look so hot today. Like, oh my gosh, your boobs look, like I could tell my girlfriends that their boobs look good and it's fine. Like it's not a big deal. Cause we're comfortable like that. And like it's fine.
But isn't masculinity also cultural?
Oh, totally.
Too? Because it's not, masculinity here is not the same as like Japan or.
I was just talking with this about Keith Carey on the previous interview, and he was saying that like a lot of Mexican men like Morrissey because in their culture, being emotionally vulnerable and like having strong feelings is seen as a part of masculinity. Like we're strong men, we're machismo, but also we feel strongly. Mm-hmm. And there's like, that is seen as a part of the masculine experience for Latino men. I think that's.
Wow. I don't know shit about Latino men.
I don't know a ton about it, but I mean, I guess I did date one for like 5 years, but. Nah,
well, it's definitely not like that. For black men, and before I get all the fucking hoteps and fake woke people fucking shitting on me, I'm not saying that every black man subscribes to this, but I'm saying the pressure to be this way is what's on black people.
I think that being black is seen as being already in our culture is seen as being tougher.
Yeah, tough, aggressive.
Yeah, so like blackness comes with connotations of like aggressiveness or toughness, which is like part of the stereotyping that we white people put onto you guys. Like, so yeah, that's like an extra thing of like like you just kind of all the way into the deep end of hyper masculinity.
Right. And it's like, and it's like, it's weird because it's like, it comes from every direction. Because not only is that put on you by white America, but black people also do it to each other.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Is it because?
I don't know. I can't, I can take guesses. I think maybe some people find it's a defense mechanism. You know, some people find identity in their suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, it's sort of the same way as like if I'm walking down a certain street in a certain, like there's a reason why if I'm walking through a certain neighborhood and Al is fucking 100 feet behind me walking the same direction, there's a reason why people are more likely to fuck with him than to fuck with me. I got a certain look about me, a certain walk about me that says don't fuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's protection. It's like when you grow up in certain places, it's like, you know, if you're seen as soft, you're gonna be a victim.
Right.
So it's like you kind of gotta not be seen as soft, but then but people will go through great lengths You know, some people make it, they try to make it about respect, but I think what it really is just, it's a fear of being seen as soft or gay or feminine
weak.
or weak, right?
Yeah.
And so people will go through great lengths, even if that means killing you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a real bluff to call.
Oh nah, mad people who have died over
just dumb shit.
Oh yeah, just off some. You said something to me in front of the wrong person, and I'm embarrassed. You know, and the only way to recover is if I pick this up and bust you in your fucking head with it.
Jesus Christ.
You know. Yeah.
That's so. I mean, like I think I understand. Like, if you already feel like if you're in an environment or you feel like you might be in danger, like masculinity becomes a shield that you can stand behind, and you'd want to keep that shield up because it protects you. Like, I get that. But like, then when you come and you're like at a book party or something, you know, like, what do you do with that?
Yeah. That's what I felt, because the truth is, I've been in California now for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I am softer from being here and being, you know, being in the fucking hipster neighborhoods and all of that shit. It's like, the last time I went back home, I remember like some little kids calling me green, like they could tell that like my guard wasn't up. You know what I mean? No, but that's what it is. It's a lot of it. I think a lot of it is your environment. A lot of it is who you're around and what they value.
Yeah.
You know? And I've been around so many, especially being out here and being in the artist community.
We value sensitivity.
Well, right, but because not just stand up, but like the painters and the writers and all of that. And not even that they value sensitivity, but it's that pressure that pressure to always display your dominance or your alpha is not there.
No,
you know, and so you sort of get out of that habit, and then you get thrown back in that environment, and it's like, oh shit, you know, it's like a shock to me.
When I lived in Milwaukee, I remember, because I lived in kind of a scary neighborhood. And so when I would leave my house, like if my boyfriend wasn't with me and I had to like walk my dog or something.
What was scary about it?
Oh, like someone got stabbed right outside the building, and
word.
There's a prostitute that lived in my building, and her pimp broke the window to the front of the building to try and like get to her, and she like locked him out. It was like this whole thing. Okay. So there's just like a lot of like kind of crazy stuff happening, and I would get hollered at all the time, you know, and people would follow me in their car, like men, and it was just like kind of scary. So when I would leave and I would have to walk my dog, who's like a Chihuahua, I would like get my mean face, like I'd get my mean walk on, you know, like, and I remember I I didn't realize I was doing it. And there's this old man named Eric who would sit outside the building next door. And I'm just like, I had like my mean face on, and he and I were friends because he showed me a litter of pit bull puppies, and we became like best friends. He's like, one day he was just like, you want to see a bunch of puppies? I was like, yeah. And then we were like buddies. And one day I was like walking with my mean face on, and he goes, girl, who are you trying to scare? He's like, you're still not scary. And I was like, damn it, Eric.
I was just thinking that.
I put my armor on. What are you talking about? But it is, you put your armor on. Like I didn't wear dresses in that neighborhood. I always wore pants, and like I always like wore like comfortable shoes, and like, cause it is like, oh, I might have to run, you know, and just.
Did you ever have to run?
I didn't. Like dudes would follow me. Sometimes I would have to like go into a store. There was one time actually I parked my car and 4 men in a car parked basically behind me, so I couldn't like back my car out. And I like ran into my building really quick, and they followed me. And I felt the door close, and I turned around, and all 4 of them were at where the lock was. And I was like, why are you following? You know, like I was just like, well, when I had been walking out of my car, they started like, you know, hollering like, girl, you look good. Like, I want to touch that ass, like that kind of stuff. And so like, it kind of scared me. And so like, it was during the daytime.
This is Milwaukee.
This is Milwaukee.
Does that happen less here?
Yeah, I've never been bothered here. It's never happened to me here. But I also live in South Pasadena. I live in a very safe, like super chill neighborhood, like lots of kids and dogs. Like it's just like a very chill place where I live now. I've never been followed or harassed to the extent that I was in Milwaukee.
Wow.
Yeah. But I also like, I was living in like low income housing and like, you know.
Oh, using the project.
It was like right on the edge. So it was like we're trying to be hipstery and nice and cool.
Why were you in the projects?
Because I didn't have money.
Oh. Okay.
I wasn't in the projects. It was like this.
Oh, you was like the first wave of gentrification?
Yeah, we were like the artist lofts,
Okay,
right? So we're like, you know, my car got broken into a couple times and like, you know, we were like, the neighborhood was like kind of changing. Right. And we were like the artists that were coming in like, it'll be a fun adventure. I can't afford anything else,
right,
you know?
Like Boomtown where we just did your show.
Yeah, like, we're totally like that.
That's the first sign of the neighborhood changing.
It is because it used to be a warehouse and then it got turned into apartments for artists. So yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
Yeah. Once you see that brewery go up.
Yeah. It was funny though, because I was like, well, always the nearest grocery store was the Mexican grocery store. And so the first few times we went there, I got stared at a lot because I was the only blonde person. You know, it was really funny.
The trick, honestly, and maybe this is just easier for me to say, but a lot of the places that people consider bad neighborhoods, it's most of the people that live around there are just just regular people.
Most people were really nice, except for the people following me.
And if you and that's what I mean. I can't speak for being a woman because that comes with a whole different
super fun
set of shit. But as a man, for the most part, if you mind your fucking business, most people will leave you alone.
Yeah.
If you're not all looking to try to see what people are doing or asking people questions, if you just mind your business and don't look like a fucking oblivious tourist, people will leave you alone.
If you're aware of your surroundings. Well, I mean, that's something that I learned too, is just like, there were children running around. Like, it's fine, you know, as long as you're not the person that someone else wants to stab, you're fine.
Right.
You know, like, as long, like, those people had a beef. Like, who wasn't just stabbing whoever that day, you know?
Yeah, I mean, four motherfuckers chasing you to your building, that's kind of...
That really freaked me out. But that was the only time that happened. It only happened that one time. But it was scary. My heart was like beating. And there was a dude in my building that I didn't like that would always be nice to me. And I was like, I don't like that guy. Because he freaked me out. He had like the crazy eyes a little bit. And he actually murdered someone. So, not in my building. He murdered someone somewhere else. Yeah, but my neighbor, I told my neighbor, I was like, this dude freaks me out. Like, if he's in the elevator, I won't be in the elevator with him. And he like totally murdered someone. After. Yeah. We saw him on the news after. And I was like, damn.
I don't fuck with people. The last place I was staying when I was in that shelter over there when I first got to LA.
You were in a shelter when you moved here?
Yeah, there's a shelter over there for Iraq veterans.
Really?
Yeah, and they.
Did you have your own room?
Well, you kind of have your own room. You share a bathroom.
Okay.
And you have like a 8x8 room or a 10x10, I think. I don't know what it is.
Okay, that's not horrible.
No, it's not bad at all. The horrible shit was just all the rules and restrictions, and like you can't smoke weed. You got a curfew. You had a curfew? Yeah, you got group therapy classes. You got fucking.
That's really annoying.
You have to take all your meds, whatever's prescribed to you by the VA. You have to take them.
Did you have meds?
I did for a spell.
What were they? Why did you have to take them?
Antidepressants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they help you?
No. No, they didn't help at all. I mean, they somewhat helped, but it was like there was always a side effect that was just like, this is worse. You know, like one of the side effects of one of them, I forget what the fucking name. I think it was called mirtazapine. But that shit would make you a zombie.
Yeah.
You know, like so. And then there was another one that like gave you a lot of energy. I think it was basically Zoloft. I forget what they called it. Because the VA buys the generic shit.
Do you have PTSD? Is that?
I have major depressive disorder.
Okay.
Which, the VA lumps that together with PTSD, but it's
the causes are different.
The causes are the same, but the manifestation is different.
Okay.
Yeah.
How so? I'm just curious.
Because that's how they classify it as PTSD manifests as major depressive disorder or anxiety disorder or.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So they're saying you had some trauma, and then it manifests as some other disorder, or it goes together with some other disorder.
Is your major depressive, is that from your time in the military, or is that from your life before?
Oh, that's the magic question, isn't it?
Because it was no cakewalk, you know?
Yeah. That's hard to say, because I'm sure that because I meet former foster kids as adults now, and we all have similar issues, you know, in terms of like intimacy issues and
trust
issues, and getting close to people and staying far from people and shit like that. But I don't know if I would ever say that I was majorly depressed. I don't know. Or maybe I would say that I feel like I gotten over that. You know, I gotten past it. But then that's also a lie that we tell ourselves that we're fine.
I know, I try to do that all the time.
Yeah, you're not fine. Actually, I'm at a point in my life right now. I mean, now that I found comedy and the thing that I love, that I've just accepted that I'm not okay. That I'm whatever the fuck is whatever mental issues I have. It's fine for me to work on them. It's fine for me to be, but me being different doesn't make me deficient. In fact, I feel like it gives me a unique perspective, which is a superpower in the creative world.
It totally is.
So I don't beat myself up about, you know, I don't think I'm crazy or losing it or any of that shit. At least I try not to.
Yeah, I went to a psych ward, and it's hard to like, it's hard to just like not be crazy, you know, like, or like if someone tells you, I don't trust you, Andrea Gazzetta, I don't trust you and the choices that you're telling me. Like, because I told them, I was like, I don't want to hurt myself. I'm sad today. I'm having a very bad day, but I'm not going to hurt myself, and I don't want to. And they're like, we don't take any chances. We have to send you to this place. And I got locked up, and I had people who didn't know anything telling me that they knew better than me what I was going to do to myself.
Right. That's what being a foster kid is like.
And it's just like, bitch, I'm smarter. You just try to give me Tums for my menstrual cramps. Like, I guarantee you, I am smarter than you. Like, a dude who was my therapist in there, quote unquote, essentially wanted me to say that I believed in God because that would help me heal. And I was like, you're telling me that you want me to believe in an imaginary person so that I can get out of here, and I'm the crazy person. You know what I mean? Like, why would you, like, maybe there is a God, maybe there isn't, but I'm not just going to say I believe in Jesus for you to let me out of here. Like, I'm not going to do that. So it's just like, I hate that power dynamic.
You're stronger than me, because I would have totally did it.
I will not. Just get the fuck out of here. You crazy.
Nah, it's game theory. My goal is to get the fuck out of here, and I will say that I believe in anything if you'll let me the fuck out of here.
I have this thing where it's like, if I don't think I'm wrong, I really will not just say that I think that thing is fine.
Even to your own. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of the most stubborn people you'll ever meet, but I also want to win. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but you think of chess as a long game, and I think of chess as like, I just want to take your pieces right now.
No, because listen, that is my long game. My thing is, I will win. I will beat you one day. What I need to do is get out of here, gather my powers,
and I'll win eventually.
Yeah, I'm fucking Grand Admiral Thrawn. I'm fucking Skeletor. I'm gonna win. I'm coming back.
You're hitting it for the long haul.
Yeah,
I've gotten better about that as an adult. When I was a kid, I was horrible. Like, I would argue with my mom, like, that's not right, and I disagree. And like, as an adult, I kind of will just like let people say things, or like let people do things more. But when I was in there, because I felt like I already had no power, I just didn't want to relinquish anymore, if that makes sense.
No, I feel you. I feel you 1,000%. Yeah.
Because it's the scariest place I've ever
It's
been.
psychological because you was like, I'm not gonna let you beat me.
Yeah, and this same motherfucker didn't know how to use the water machine in his own building where he works. Like, why? How are you smarter than me?
So if you didn't say you love Jesus, how'd you get out of there?
They have to let you out after 72 hours. They can't hold you for any longer without proof that you've tried to harm yourself, which they had none of. The only reason I was in there is because I sent this email because I was sad and I was upset to my brother. And it was like a passive aggressive, like, well, you don't give a fuck about me. Like, I might as well open a couple of veins, like whatever. Like, I was mad. He called the police on me.
That's intense to put in a letter, though.
Well, he hadn't answered 3 emails and we hadn't talked in like 5 months, and I was getting really irritated.
This was an email, not a written letter.
It was an email, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Because like
I was being sarcastic because I was upset, and I was like, "You're not. What the fuck is wrong?" Like, I was mad. We can edit some of this out because I was just so mad.
I know. I get it. 1,000%. Yeah, but what does crazy? What does crazy mean? That's when people try to call you.
Here's the thing: is like sometimes crazy people have great points. So I'm like I've been convinced by people. Like I've been convinced by people. I think like truth is so subjective, and I feel like people kind of like write their own experience so much that like the story that they tell to themselves can seem crazy.
Wait a minute, what do you mean truth is objective?
Well, there's certain things. So like the way that we frame our experiences and the way that we assign like our motivations to actions. So like, for example, I briefly was dating someone that may have been on heroin, and I didn't know that at the time. But
they may have been on heroin at the time.
They were super on heroin at the time. Okay. Yeah, they totally were. But the way that they framed their life was that they were healing through a difficult depression, or like they were healing and it was okay and everything was under control. However, their actions were very much not in control of themselves.
Yeah, and that's just a lie.
But the thing is like in their mind, that is true.
Oh, right. Well, see,
so like that's the
what
thing.
Is truth?
Right. That's what I'm saying is like, so the way that people frame their life and their actions, like that's how we do bad things, is because we're able to do the mental gymnastics to frame our lives to make us feel better about the bad choices we've already decided to make.
But I guess what I'm asking is there do you believe that there's a such thing as objective truth?
There are objective truths for sure. Yeah. There's like, this is a black curtain. This is a pen, that's objective truth. But when it comes to motivation, if I say to someone like, you hurt my feelings or, whatever. And when it comes to like our feelings, when it comes to love and like all that kind of stuff and people's motivations, someone might say, no, like, for example, like racism, right? Like someone's like, well, that's not racist, because in their minds, their intention is not to be racist.
Yeah, but I think I would argue that they just haven't examined their
own behaviors enough to find the real truth.
Right.
Yeah, like I agree. But they're writing their own truth. There's certain truths that we like write that aren't real, but that's what we have to do to feel okay in the world.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, because there's your own little bubble of reality.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, maybe that's where I'm living right now.
What do you mean?
I mean, this whole conversation we've just had, this is about my little bubble of reality and what's true to me.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I want to talk a little bit about, because you were in foster care and then you were in the military and you kind of did all these things. That clearly affected how you love people. Have you had like love, like strong romantic relationships that you thought could last a long time?
Yes, and I was always wrong. I'm bad at knowing those things.
I know, me too. I'm really bad at it.
Yeah, I think I have an issue where like I'm drawn to to damaged people.
Me too.
And I think I'm drawn to damaged people, and I mistakenly, and it's not one of them things where it's like, oh, I can fix them. It's not.
But you feel like they understand you.
Right, exactly. I feel like they'd be more likely to be able to deal with all my shit.
And accept you.
Right.
Instead of being like, oh, this is way too much for me. Like, oh, I can't unpack all of this. When you're like, yeah, I don't respect authority. Or like, there's pieces of me that like, you know, there's certain things I don't trust. There's certain ways that I am in the world and with people because of these formative experiences.
Right. And also like there's a big, huge part of me that you aren't going to be a part of my life. Like you're not going to be always around me. I need to be alone a lot of the time. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's hard for some people to swallow.
You needing alone time in a relationship?
Yeah, like a lot. You know, like I'm not one of those like come home from work and then kick it with you on the couch for 2 hours kind of person. Like I need to fucking go get in my zone alone.
Yeah,
be away from people. I hate people. and it's like I hate people. It's like I love you, but I hate people, and you're people right now because I just came out of the world. You know.
I really actually identify with that a lot. Is like I love people in theory, right? Like people are great. And people are also the worst and like very exhausting. Like like I like people, I like being with people, but I like being with people kind of in the same way that I like being with cats, where they're like, we're in the same room, we don't have to talk.
Right.
Like that's super cool with me. And I have had relationships and this kind of that same problem where like I was in a serious relationship and I would go to my studio and paint, which is like not connected to my house. So I would be gone for hours and hours at a time, just alone, painting, hanging out with my dog. And then I'd come back and, you know, my boyfriend at the time, who's an extrovert, who loves people, who wants to be with people all the time, was just like jealous of my alone time. You know, like he would be kind of upset about that. And it was a problem.
Yeah, that's weird.
You know? And he's like, he would want to like go get drunk. And like, to me, that's not a fun or productive use of time. So I'm not a fan of just like getting fucked up for no reason. Like that's not really like on my to-do list. So it was a huge problem.
Yeah. Well, you know, I discovered that like it's bad for you to seek out those people that are, because what ends up happening is they maybe they will accept you sooner, or maybe they will.
Oh, the damaged people.
Right, but what happens is you just end up in this echo chamber of vices, you know, and so it's like everything that's all the worst parts of you that you need to be repairing, they just make it worse.
They're tearing it down because they're not repairing themselves.
Well, because you're doing the same thing to them. You end up becoming like this codependent enabler,
for their bad choices and your bad choices.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they're like, you're like, I make bad choices. They're like, I make bad choices. Let's keep making bad choices.
Right.
And no one's like, hey, what if we didn't make bad choices?
Yeah. Or even if you decide to, oh, wait a minute, what are we doing? Let's stop making bad choices. Then it's like, oh, you know, what's changed? You know, now you
oh, Mr. High and Mighty.
Yeah, who are you fucking? That's making you, you know, who you fucking on the side that make you want to make better choices?
What do you have like an example of a specific behavior that like you were trying to repair when you were in a relationship that you like the other person kept holding you back from?
Yeah, I was dating someone one time that and she was bipolar.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, and she was also an alcoholic. And
that will not help.
Yeah, it doesn't help. But I was also I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic, but I have a periodic drinking problem. Like
okay.
Sometimes it just gets out of control. I guess that is alcoholism. And
remember the thing about reality earlier.
Yeah, and we just encouraged each other. We just get fucked up every night, and then when I decided, oh shit, this is going too far. You know,
yeah,
it got weird.
Well, because she felt like you trying to make a good choice for yourself was you judging her for her behavior.
Right. That was our constant battle. She thought that I thought I was better than her because I was get my shit together, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted better for her. So every time I would be like, yo, you need to be doing this and this and that because what about the future? You know, blah, blah, blah. And she had a son too. So it was
yeah.
That's a whole nother bag of shit, man. I hate I have to stop dating women with kids, you know.
Because then you leave.
Because then you leave,
and
right?
You still love that kid, and you can't hang out with the kid.
Right.
Yeah, my ex had a son too, and it was really hard. It's hard to just be like, oh, I like taught a kid how to read, and now there's this child that I like cared for and loved, and like just isn't in my life anymore.
Yeah, and you're nothing to them anymore.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm sure they're fine.
They might not even remember you.
No,
you know,
I'm sure he's fine.
But then she stopped taking her meds. It's weird. Like her family went to this weird church, and I was an atheist, so that was already a thing. You know, with her parents. I was an atheist, and her pastor kept insisting that I come to the church so he could read me or whatever. You know
how pastors just like they basically have a byline to God and know everything.
And it was the same motherfucker that told her that like she shouldn't take that the medication for mental health because God made her the way she is or whatever.
I don't have a problem with people believing in religion as long as religion doesn't interfere with logic and science in a way that is harmful to people. Yeah. That's my biggest problem with religion.
Even if you believe in God, it's like, yo, God made that med too. God made those meds.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
For real.
I don't know. I just, yeah. It was a bad idea.
So you've been in love before. Do you think that...
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I mean, that goes back to what we call truth. You know, it's like, I think that I thought I was in love before.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know. Maybe the way it is that maybe as you grow older and you get through more relationships, maybe either it's that I thought I was in love and I was wrong about what love is, or my definition of love is maturing or changing. And when I look back, it looks incorrect. You know what I mean?
I think the second one is more how I feel.
Yeah. So
I definitely, I feel like I've loved, the more people that I've loved, the more that my definition of love has expanded to understand that, maybe I wasn't really getting it earlier.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
Yeah, and also I don't know if because it's hard. You can't really pin down a definition of love, right?
Well, we love every person we love a little bit differently.
But that's what I mean is if someone says what is love, that's you could write a fucking 50-page paper on that.
Baby,
but if
don't hurt me. Sorry, I had to do it.
Yeah, I lobbed it up for you. But if someone asks you, what actions make you feel loved, or how do you show love, that's something you can answer.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's what I think changes. Is like, for me to feel loved, I need this. And for me to show love, this is what I think showing love is. And if that's incompatible with the person you're trying to love, it's like, this never gonna work out.
Yeah. No, I feel that 100%. For me, love is so much in how you treat someone. And so I have a tough time, I'm reading a book right now called About Love by Bell Hooks.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's really good. But she talks about how our definition of love is so much taken from what we get from our parents or the way that we're raised. And then we enter into relationships and we might not really understand. And she kind of talks about, she always had care, but her parents said that they loved her, but then they were also abusive in certain ways. And so there's this thing that happens where people say I love you, but then they physically harm you. So your idea of what love is includes, sometimes people love you but also hurt you. And so she would allow that to happen in romantic relationships. And then she's like, wait, that's not a loving action. And that person doesn't really care, so she had to kind of evolve and grow out of that. But we kind of throw love around as a word, especially in romantic relationships, when we're not actually giving love or care to that person.
Damn. Maybe that's my problem. Maybe that's why I think love is distance. You know,
like you feel safer if people are a little bit away from you.
Right. Like if I can just love you from like over here, you know? Yeah.
It is safer.
That's what I learned from my parents, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't in your life every day.
The state of Maryland was my parents, technically. No, but you know what's wild though is they were, because I'm not an orphan, you know what I mean? Like they're not dead and they're not gone.
They just weren't capable of taking care of you.
I'm closer to my mom now than I've ever been. My biological mom.
Well, how did that happen?
What do you mean?
Like, how did you get close to her?
You know what? Honestly, I was never really distant from her. When she left, she told us she was leaving. She didn't just disappear.
Oh.
You know, she sat us down one night and was like, you know, shit's going down. That's not her exact words, but, you know, basically the gist of it was like, shit's going down. Mommy's got to fucking get out of town, and it's better for y'all to be here with Granny. You know what I mean?
Oh, so she left you with your grandma.
She left us with her mother.
Her mother, okay.
Right. And then, but her mom she worked too much. So like we was always home alone, and the neighbor across the street was a fucking hater. So she would always be like, you know, call the police or whatever. Like, these kids are home alone or whatever. And,
how old were you? Like 7?
No, we was like, I think we were like 4 and 6 or 4 and 5, whatever. But, you know, we was on top of shit, like never answer the door. You know, all that. But one day, I don't know what the fuck. Oh, they would do this shit at school, the dare shit.
Mm-hmm.
And basically every officer, the crossing guard, the dare officer, all that, they was all officer friendly. You know, and as a kid, in my mind, I was just like, oh, they all just they related. They all just have the same last name, you know, whatever. And so for, you know, years, we were fine, latchkey kids, and we were fine. But one day, the dude was knocking on the door, the officer, and he was like, oh, it's officer friendly. And I was like, oh, I know him, and opened the door.
Oh.
And it turned into this whole thing.
And then he found out that you were alone.
Yeah, he found out we were alone. And he took us down to the police station, and my grandmother came down there and went the fuck off. She was so mad. But anyway, it turned into a thing where she basically couldn't keep us. She couldn't be around.
They wouldn't let her keep you because she couldn't find someone to watch you. She couldn't afford to have someone to watch you.
Right.
And she had to work to feed you.
I mean, I'm guessing that's the reason. I don't know what the exact reason was.
That's so messed up. That makes me so upset because like there's so many first world countries where like child care is part of the society.
Well, no, we didn't go to foster care from there.
Really?
We moved upstairs with our aunt, who lived in the same building.
Okay.
But she already had 2 kids of her own.
Okay.
So she went from having 2 kids to 4 kids, and that was just a financial burden.
Yeah.
And so she put us in with my brother's grandmother, who she already knew was a foster parent. You know?
Oh, okay.
And that's how we ended up in the system in the first place. So it wasn't like this, like we wasn't like left on a doorstep or no shit like that, you know. It wasn't like a traumatic thing.
You just kind of slowly you were first with family and then you got put into the system.
And then the thing with my dad was a whole different situation. By then I was a teenager. And that was a whole different situation. But it was the same thing, but it was more negativity, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you could ever love one person for like a lifetime?
Nah. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I can love you, but you mean be with?
Yeah, like romantically, like date.
For a lifetime? No, I don't think that's realistic.
You don't think that's realistic for anyone?
Nah.
For anyone or for you?
It's definitely not realistic for me. I can't really. I don't think it's realistic for most people. It's a narrative that we are, you know, because that shit started when a lifetime was like 35.
Well, and also a lot of times the like romantic monogamy, people still had like mistresses or, you know, there's a lot of like outside sex happening.
And not only that, but it's like, I just think people are dynamic, you know.
We shift and change and grow.
Is it fair for me now to make a decision for me 10 years from now that I can't undo? I don't know. I mean, because I'm such a different person than I was 5 years ago.
How old are you right now? I have no idea.
I'm 35.
35? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still less than halfway, probably.
Less than halfway what?
Of your life.
Dead? Oh.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you think about it that way, it's like, okay, like if you said today, like you met a girl and you were like, okay, forever. And I haven't even been alive as long as I'm going to spend with you. Like, that's crazy.
Forever? See,
So
I would not say
long.
that. I would not say that. I would just be like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this for as long as it lasts.
Interesting.
And then as soon as it stops being fun, as soon as it stops being, maybe fun isn't the right word, but as soon as it stops becoming an enriching experience for either one of us, I think it's fine to just get up out of it, you know?
Yeah, I think it kind of almost has to be.
I could totally break up with someone amicably as long as there's no betrayal involved, you know?
Yeah, that makes it hard.
Like because I'm such a petty, vengeful person. Like
it hurts me too much. Like that's what part of the thing with the dude, and it didn't end well, but you know, I found out that he was like texting other people and there was like some of that going on, and I was just like, yeah, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, because people are shit. Most people are shit. They can't handle. Like you could even be in a situation. You could be in a situation where you told the motherfucker, hey, you know what I mean? You could have a side chick. We both comics, it's road rules. You know, you could have, when you're on the road, do whatever you want, but don't lie to me about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that motherfucker see you every day. Every time he come back on the road, he'll see you every time and be like, oh, no, babe, I didn't even do nothing. I was just chilling. And then next thing you know, you getting phone calls from 4 or 5 different ones. You know what I mean? And it's like,
he has like 3 kids. I'm like, damn it. I told you to wear a condom. God damn it.
I can't stand a lying motherfucker, man.
Lying. Well, I mean, like lying just erodes trust fully. Like if someone lies to you about, that was my problem with him too, is like, I'd be like, who are these women talking to you? And like, why did this girl we used to be friends with stop talking to us? And like, what were you texting her? And, you know, like that kind of stuff. And just like a lot of questions that I just was like, it's probably fine. It was not fine. But like once those questions start to come through and you find out like this person has been lying to me, it's really hard to believe really anything that they say.
So I just cut it off at the questions.
Really?
Yeah. I trust my instincts. If I got questions, Because like I said, look, I can't tell you how many, for some reason, people come to me with their problems, even people I don't know very well. Will like just.
That's because you're so sweet.
They would, is it?
You're really sweet.
I really don't feel sweet.
You're so sweet.
I feel like I'm kind of an asshole, but yeah. I try to be nice to people, but it's like.
You're sweet, but I feel like honest, and so maybe that's a good combination of person. Yeah.
But people, and I can't tell you how many people come to me, women, and they think someone's cheating on them or they think something's going down. And my advice is always the same. It's like, yo, trust your instincts. Because you're not asking me because you don't know. You know what I mean? You're asking me because you want backup on this major decision you're about to make, you know, or not make. You know,
I will kind of just be like, because sometimes I'll be like, I think as women we're taught so much to doubt our own logic and feelings.
Most of the time, you just don't want to know.
We don't want to know. No, because we'd rather believe like, I like this dude. He's nice to me. He tells me he loves me. He takes care of me in X amount of ways or whatever. So like you want to believe that this person that you've let into your life is good. Exactly. And that any doubts or fears you have are just in you.
But there's a difference between what's true and what you want to be true.
Yeah,
and
totally.
That's what I mean. So it's like if you come to me and you say, you know what? I found a condom wrapper in his car. And he said it was his cousin's.
Ooh. Well, why is his cousin fucking in your car?
Do you think he's cheating on me? I'm like, well, what do you think?
Probably.
Exactly. It's like you're not asking me because you don't know what that means. Who the fuck is fucking in their cousin's car as an adult?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So you see that you just don't want to believe it. Because you're in love with the of what you. This is another thing I noticed with myself and a lot of other people is a lot of times you fall in love with what you could be.
Yeah, the potential of a person.
Right, and that keeps you. Are we over the time?
No, you're good.
Oh. And that keeps you making excuses, or ignoring all the little red flags. That, like, by the time you break up with somebody, a lot of times, my mama always says this, actually, is like, you tell yourself that all this bullshit came out of the blue. And the truth is,
it was there from the beginning.
It was there right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you ignored it and ignored it and ignored it until you weren't getting what you wanted, or until it was obvious that you would never get what you wanted.
But I think something that I have a difficult time with is I recognize that I'm a flawed person and that I have parts of myself that are not the best. And so when I see another person and they're also flawed, I want to forgive and accept their flaws, and I hope that they forgive and accept mine.
Right.
And to some extent, that's part of the contract that comes with like loving anyone. Loving people as friends is like, I'm never going to agree with all my friends all the time. This is ridiculous. It's not possible. We're going to have disagreements, and like friends are going to irritate each other no matter how long they've been together. And if you're in a relationship and you live together, that's going to happen even more. So like, to some extent, how do you know which flaws are flaws that are just like acceptable and like things that we can work through, and which flaws are things that are going to completely unravel this relationship? And sometimes you don't know right away. You know what I mean? Like sometimes from the outside, it's just like, yeah, you're flawed. So am I. Like, let's fuck, like whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I like you. Like, I like you anyway, and so, like, you can recognize, I think, there's the complexity of people is that we all have really beautiful parts of ourselves that are worth loving. And we all have really shitty parts of ourselves that we wish we didn't have, but we all have them. So like, at what extent do you say, well, those flaws are inexcusable and these flaws aren't, Right. Like, how can you ask someone to accept the bad parts of you without accepting the bad parts of them? So like, at what point do you decide, okay, this relationship isn't working, and these things that I saw as red flags that I kind of ignored are now harming me in a way that is irreparable. And so like, at a certain point,
right there,
that's when that has to happen. And that's when you have to break up. But like before that, it's like, okay, I'll keep that in the back of my mind,
I don't know. For me, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is accurate or whatever, but for me, it's right when I don't feel valued. You know what I mean? It's like, as soon as it comes off to me that I'm not valuable to you, or that something or someone else is more valuable.
But you're a comic, so your comedy a lot of times is going to be more valuable to you than spending time with that person. So
no, that's true. But I'm just talking about outside of that, where it's like, or not when, if I feel devalued. You know what I mean?
Like they're disrespecting you, or like not taking you seriously.
Yeah, or just I'm on the back burner. I don't like that. I don't like being, because I mean, other things are allowed to be more important, obviously, in your life, like urgent, like in the moment. But I'm just talking about overall. You know what I mean? If I don't feel value, like if when I'm at that point where it's like they're doing things that are harming me and I feel less than.
Yeah. I've had that too, where it's like, I'm telling you you're hurting me and you're telling me you don't care, or you're telling me that doesn't matter, that my feelings aren't valid. It's like, you're hurting me. You have to stop. I don't like this.
The words of my late grandma, I can do bad by my motherfucking self.
Yeah. That's true.
I'm not in a relationship to feel like shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. And then that's one thing. It's like, we all have times where like we're fighting, but yeah, like if every day you're screaming at me and we can't reach a consensus, like it is time to walk away.
And I'm not with that at all.
No, I don't do that. I don't like it.
I'm talking about screaming in my house.
I love that.
Nah, put your indoor voice on, man.
Dude, my stepmom has a rule. There's no yelling in the house.
Who has a rule?
My stepmom.
Oh.
So if, like, when she and my dad got together, if he wanted to, like, yell, she'd be like, you can go in another room and yell. And when you feel better, we can have a polite discussion about our differences. And I love it so much because it made the whole house, like, like when I was younger, like my dad would get upset and he would raise his voice. And then, like, when my stepmom came around, like it just made the whole thing chill the fuck out.
No.
You know, it's fucking great. I love it.
I hate it because like my first girlfriend in high school, she her family was yellers, and I'm not talking about fighting. I'm just talking about all the time. You know, like I called a house for her.
Yeah.
You know, her name was Kiana. I would call the house for her, and her sister answered phone. Oh, it was Kiana! Just yell across the whole fucking house. You know, or just even if I'm standing right there in front of them, like you know I would be over there, and someone would call for her mother, and she would just Ma, just across the house. It's like, why don't you go get her?
Yeah. Yeah, that drives me crazy. I hate it.
It drove me insane.
I don't like it. It's so irritating.
I was not allowed to yell in my house.
Oh, really?
No. Well,
I guess there's 10 people or like
my grandma, she was allowed to call me, scream my name, but I couldn't scream the answer back. That would get your ass a smack.
Oh, that means I'm calling your name. Come here.
Come here and talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean we're screaming across. Nah, that would get you fucked up. So it's just a thing with me. I hate it.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah.
We're gonna kind of finish up the podcast.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Get out of here.
Let's wrap it up.
So something that I like to do at the end is I like to ask, when you feel yourself starting to fall in love, do you have a specific fear or thing that you're afraid of? And if so, like, do you have a way to like correct for it?
Yes, I'm always afraid that I'm wrong, that I'm picking the wrong person.
I know, me too.
Because I'm never, you know what's wild is it seems like every time, whenever I'm in that, you know, it's like a slide. It's like you feel yourself starting to slide down this love slide.
Yeah. And you're like, oh no, it's got me.
Well, whenever I'm in that mood, it's like it forks and I have to, it's never one person. It's always one or two people. Oh. It's always 2 or 3 people that it's only been 3 people once. I'm not a beast like that. But I just mean, you know, you always have to choose. You never just get one person, I feel like. And so I always pick I've always picked the wrong one. Like
the one that's more destructive to you?
Or I don't know, or maybe just all relationships are inevitably doomed and it just feels like I picked the wrong one because they always end badly. But I always pick one that ends badly. And so I'm always afraid that that's what I'm doing. And I don't have a way to correct for that. You know? Do you think that that's just like the fear that you have of missing out? Or like in retrospect, you feel like it was the wrong person, but at the time you would have still made that same choice? Or I'm afraid that it's not reciprocated.
You know? That's always mine.
And you get simped out there, you know? Or somebody's using you, you know?
Using you how? Like just to feel better?
For whatever, right. Like it's not to them what it is to you. You falling in love, but to them you're just not that. You're something else.
That's the worst.
Sometimes you just a means. You're just a means to an end. Sometimes you paid their phone bill or you there because they just need emotional support, but you're not, you know, they're not in love with you and they don't, you know, so that's a whole other thing. Yeah, but I don't have a way to correct that. I don't have a way to be like, you know, I'd rather just be like.
I feel like we can't know until you, like, I feel like you can never know until you're in it how the other person feels unless you like ask them straight up, like, hey, what is this to you? What am I to you?
Especially in LA, it's weird.
It is weird.
Especially in the comedy community, it's weird. Yeah. We should talk about that after.
Guys, this has been really fun. We probably talked too long. We might edit some of this out. But Brian, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Don't edit it out. Sell it to your Patreons as bonus
content. We have no Patreon or subscribers. And my mom's already told me, your podcast's kind of long. I can't listen to all of them. So it's a lot. But yeah, do you want to tell people where they can find you?
But you said there's no subscribers.
Oh, I have subscribers. I mean, I don't have a Patreon.
Oh, okay, yeah. Twitter. That's not really where to find. I tweet out of obligation, but yeah.
If people wanted to go see your shows, where do you post your show information?
Oh yeah, Twitter.
Twitter.
Sometimes Instagram, always Facebook.
Okay. And on Twitter, you're at Short Wide Neck?
Short Wide Neck on all those things, yeah.
It's a very funny joke that you have about that, too. I really like it.
Yeah, I haven't told it in a while.
You told it when I was with you in San Diego.
Yeah, it was like a month ago.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been a real long time since I told it since before that.
That's good. I like that joke. Do you have any show? Okay. Hold on a second. I'm awkward. This will come out on June 6th. Do you have any shows after then that you want to plug or talk about?
June 6th. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see here. April, May. All right. Nope, not any that I'm willing to plug.
Okay, cool.
I don't plug shows that I don't know are going to be good. Like if I haven't done them before.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
When people are like, plug the show. I'm like, unless it's at the Comedy Store or like somewhere, like unless it's a really good venue or I know it's a really good lineup, I'm just like, I'll put your poster up. We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. If you guys like this podcast, follow us on Instagram at Andrea Loves Everybody, on Twitter at Andrea Loves Pod. And if you have any questions, comments, queries, concerns, something you want to tell any of our past guests, which I might pass on, but probably not, please email me at AndreaLovesEverybody@gmail.com. And if you want to know where I'll be telling jokes, follow me at Sundress Comic on Instagram or Twitter or Andrea Gazetta on Facebook. And thank you so much for listening.